Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Her Career Unplugged. Today, we are going to go and speak about something very controversial. Just to set the stage, nobody told us that being excellent at your job is not the same as being seen for it. I want you to think about it. Being excellent at job is not the same as being seen for it. Nobody told us that meeting before the meeting is where the actual decisions happen. Nobody told us that likability and credibility can feel like they're pulling in opposite directions, and that women feel that tension more than anyone. So, in this episode, we are going to pull back the curtain on those unwritten rules that we have at workplace, the office politics. I think everyone would be thinking about, oh, this is going to be something that I really want to learn. Some feel like it doesn't exist, and some feel like, oh, I'm living in it. Both I and Joanne were talking about it before we joined, that we wish someone had sat us down on day one of our job and just gave us a rundown on how office politics plays. So with that, Joanne, I'll hand it over to you.
And that's the thing, is that when you start a job, every job has a job description, right? And they hopefully an onboarding plan, roughly, right? And then sometimes you do have your manager or a mentor or a pairing buddy. But what you don't know is about, theoretical name Janice at the party planning committee that controls the entire system, and you just made her upset because you did not like that she was eating a tuna sandwich. So it's very important to understand those things, and totally not something that happened to me, right? So by the time that you figure out what is going on and how your job actually works on a human element, you've already made mistakes. And decisions were made about you in rooms you didn't know, in meetings and rooms that you didn't know were meetings, right?
The decisions are made in the rooms that you're not present at. For me to understand that key point, it might have taken me at least 6 or 7 years of my early career. So that's a very critical point.
Yes.
And I want our audience to understand that.
Yes, exactly. Decisions are made in rooms that you are not in. It is tough, but it is part of life, and be it a physical room or a virtual room in 2026, right?
Yes.
So, Vimala, the first unwritten rule you learned the hard way was?
The first unwritten rule when I was young started at a kind of a startup culture kind of job where I didn't know that these groups were already made. There are like a group of people who work together. They have their own like a tight-knit group. And if you say something to one person, you'll be pissing off the whole group. So that's something I didn't know. I didn't know anything about office dynamics. So that's the area, maybe before the virtual times when I first started my job, those groups existed. Hopefully it's getting better now with all the virtual groups, but yes.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one. Personally, I kind of hinted at mine, right? My unwritten rule that I learned was don't mess with the party planning committee. They're cutthroat. Even if you think that you can get better cookies somewhere else, just don't tell them that.
Yeah.
What actually is office politics, right? When you hear office politics, what do you picture?
Yeah, I was really naive, and Joanne, we were kind of like prepping for it just before this talk too, saying that there is no way you can be out of office politics. You learn to kind of navigate through those where you're not involved, but you understand that you're still in someone's conversations. Just understanding that and mentally being prepared for that is very critical in your career trajectory. I have a story here, like I'm going to be very authentic and talk about it. It stayed back with me, and like it was a hurtful feeling too. In one of the companies I worked with previously in my whole career journey, there was a point where I was working at a company which was highly political. And there were some changes that were made. And we are like, after 2020, see it a lot. Like there are organizational changes that were made without your input, right? So I was working on it. I was put into a different team because the person I reported to left the company. And within that team, they had me coming from an Indian background, like the person I was working or reporting to was Indian, and there were like two others who were part of that who were Indian too. I was pretty much heads down doing my work, and as a mom at that stage, my focus point was to balance out everything, like trying to keep up with my family life and work. So career was important, but I was trying to balance it out, and I was not part of office politics. But later, when I started working in few positions there, I found out that people would call like this group as Indian mafia. I'm like, what the hell? What do you mean? They felt like we were a very close-knit group, and we are getting a privilege in getting into the projects we wanted to because we were all part of that group, which is ridiculous. I hated the job. I didn't want it to be part of the group. All our decisions were completely opposite. I was like totally tech heavy, and the person I was reporting to had different style of doing business. So it was really ridiculous. I was hurt. I was like, what the hell does that even mean? But someone later told me about that. I think that stuck to me, but that's where like you don't want to be part of office politics.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think that's a great point there, because also what I got from that is, even though you didn't think you were part of the politics, and actually you actually hated the whole group, right? You know, you just didn't enjoy it at all. Everybody else from the outside saw you involved in the politics. And the reality is that office politics is something that you don't get to decide if you're part of or not. Like, spoiler, the only way that you can avoid office politics is if you become self-employed or have a business of one person. And then the only politics is yourself. But, you know, if you have, you know, split personality, maybe there'll still be politics, right? So the point being is, like, you were involved in it. Whether or not you liked it, you were part of it. You didn't even enjoy it. Like, what from the outside, people were looking at it as a group that made tough decisions. And I mean, I'm hearing mafia, so I'm thinking like backstabbing, you know, actually smoozing their way to the top, and, you know, making sure their group stays together no matter what, which, you know, that's what a lot of people think of for politics, right?
Right. And if I kind of think about it, I don't think there were any tough decisions made. It was just a highly political workplace to be at.
I think it's really exciting because it's the perfect case study, honestly, for what is office politics, right? A lot of people think backstabbing, tough group, kind of mean. But we're talking about a group with how decisions were made, and a group who carried weight in those decisions, right? That was your group. And really, at the end of the day, that's something that everybody, you can't just put your head in the sand and ignore. Like, you have to understand how decisions are made. You have to understand what structure exists, be it formal or informally at a company. I'll talk about a very short part of it is, like, for example, I had a co-founder at a certain company that opened a PR that was 40,000 lines of code. Okay. Vibed, obviously, very vibe coded, because that's just where we live in. But that was the founder of the company. The politics were a little more in your face, right? Like, whether or not you like this was going into the code base. Good luck. But that's another thing of understanding how decisions are made, knowing whose opinions carry weight, no matter what you know is good practice or not good practice.
And also, I think for our listeners, just going through as we were talking, I'm reflecting through that certain example I gave. How I came out strong is still being authentic, doing what I did the best, and creating. I did eventually come out of it, right? That's how, like, I created my own group, and someone was kind enough to come and talk to me about what was happening before. So just being authentic. I love being in the tech space and doing the best in the tech space. Did my certifications, always had my head up, and did I did understand the organization. I did understand what was best for the organization and kind of like align myself to deliver, right? That helped me in that situation. But what would have helped me more is to kind of understand that if I knew that that was what the signal was to everyone else, maybe I would have brought it out to someone, to my mentor, right? Like that's the other area I would have kind of like, if I had to go back and work that, I would really get a good mentor in those difficult situations and kind of work it through a mentor as well.
I think it's a good point, like a mentor that walks you through the dynamics of a group is really helpful. And actually, in those places, it's a mentor that I feel is a little more equal footing with you. That's where having the work friend is really helpful. Like, I had a mentor once, very high up, that I would meet with, and I loved her as a person, but she was like, Joanne, who cares? Like, good work is good work, and it's going to speak for itself, right? Like, if you do a good job, they're going to know. That's not actually true.
Yeah,
But having someone who's a little bit closer to you goes like, yeah, this is a good idea, but I don't know, Jim's not going to like it unless you add AI to it somehow. Play the game a
right.
little bit. Having a mentor, I would say a mentor that's not been so removed from the game is really helpful. Someone who can still see, and yeah, I know I'm saying the game in this, but yes, office politics, it's unfortunately the game. And it is something that no matter what, you're going to have to play it.
Right. Yeah, just being authentic about it, right?
Yes, just be authentic. Don't be cutthroat. Don't be that person. Don't be
Yeah.
the high school mean girl.
True, true. Yeah.
They still exist. They just run the party planning committee.
True, true. Just understanding those dynamics, acknowledge that it's there, and build your strategy on how you're going to navigate through that. I guess that would be the more than a play, it's like a strategy in your career, right? Like that's how you navigate through those.
Yes. So let's go back. Let's go back to your story, Vimala, because it is really important and it touches actually on a lot of unwritten rules,
Yes.
right? For example, your reputation will travel faster than you do, right?
100%.
Your people are going to talk about you in rooms that you're not in. And that's really tough. It gives that weird FOMO vibe of, oh my God, there is a meeting where they're talking. Actually, it's not even a FOMO vibe. It's just that paranoid vibe. Like, there's a meeting and they're talking about me, but I don't know what they're saying about me.
Just being authentic. Like I want to give another story. Just I shared
Yeah,
it with
give
you,
it,
right?
please.
The one I was at a totally different city running something for AWS. And there was this gentleman who walked up to me and he was talking about community building. And they were talking about Joanne, and that was a proud moment for me. They were like saying like there's this amazing woman who builds community. She is a community builder. It's like not even in our city. It's a different city. We were in Fort Lauderdale. They were talking about you. Very proud moment. It's that where you are not in the group. You're authentic. You were trying to build something for our community in Orlando, and you had that vision to kind of bring Florida technologists together. That definitely played a role for everyone else to acknowledge it and speak about you when you're not in the room. You can't just go and try to wrangle that, right? Like you can't just say, hey, I want everyone to talk about me and I'm going to do this, 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 this. I don't think that's how it works. It's more of being authentic, really put your effort in what you're good at, and it would
Yeah.
speak for you when you're not there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that someone said something nice about me when,
They did.
without me being there. I've not thought about that. Like, to me, that is extremely my passion, right?
Right, right.
So I am very intentional about everything that I do with building that space because, again, my passion is about growing people's knowledge of cloud computing, not just AWS, just happens to be AWS, right? But teaching people freely and making knowledge accessible for everybody, especially women in tech, is very important to me. And that's why I do everything I do. It's like if you are true to yourself, like you said, authentic, and you do what defines you and what you want to do, that will speak to you outside. People are going to talk about you. You can't control how people perceive you, and how people perceive you is their choice and how they choose to perceive you. And not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay
True.
too.
Yes.
Like that's also part of life.
Yeah, yeah, don't be mean to everyone. And you
Mhm.
always like, I think it's one of the business skills too, like one of the area that we focus on, both the negative stakeholders and positive stakeholders when you're doing a project. It's similar to our own brand and the perception of us. There would be people who may not agree to what you do, and the other party may not believe in what you're believing, whether it's architecture, design, or whatever your passion is. That's okay. You still want to be perceived with what you believe in and what your main area of focus is.
You want to be visible.
Yes.
And being visible doesn't mean being the loudest person in the room. That's not good. That goes back to like your reputation. You're the loudest person in the room, you're just cutting people off. It's about making sure the right people know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And being visible is also asking questions when you don't understand something completely as well. Don't just hide because you don't know something. Because chances are, like, if you don't know it and you ask the question, someone else is like, oh, thank goodness someone asked that question. So being visible is not just being the smartest person in the room. And actually being the smartest person in the room is not helpful. It doesn't grow others.
I totally agree, especially now with the AI space. We are accelerating on what we are releasing. And there's so many newer solutions, newer tech spaces I think not just tech, in every vertical that we see, there's
Yeah.
something coming in every day. It's okay not to know everything and ask those questions. And as Joanne, like as you mentioned, that's how you increase your visibility too, right?
Yeah, asking questions is very tough. It's a human psychological instinct is like we don't want to be perceived as weak. We're supposed to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
the person with the biggest stick and all that, right? So it's hard to ask questions and be vulnerable. But and you guys almost are going to get me on another tangent, so I'm just going to leave it at like a 2-second clip. Is just do not outsource your thinking to AI. Because if you do, because you're confused and so you use AI instead to think for you, you're never going to grow. So ask the question and actually learn it. Do not outsource your thinking. So going into it is being comfortable to ask questions means that you've created relationships with people. And we're not talking about making friends at work. And I know that's tough to hear it that way, but it means having allies at work. Because allies are different than friends, and not everybody's going to be your friend at work, and that's okay. But you need people that can support you, but more so advocate for you when you're not in the room. Asking questions, that's a person that you're comfortable asking, that mentor, whoever it is at that point, but it has to be people outside of your team.
Yes. It can be outside your organization too.
Yes.
I think for me at this level in my career, I'm seriously thinking to have a mentor outside my organization just to understand how to lead, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. And the best way to get an ally, just the best way, is be an ally.
Yes.
Be an ally first, advocate for others, give credit to other people publicly, open doors for others when someone asks for help or raise a hand or something, volunteer in that way, because now you've created a relationship, and it's better. Everything is better that way. You've helped someone else, and eventually karma comes back.
True. Yeah. You just put that, good into the universe. It comes back for sure. All right. So I have a
Yeah.
question for you, Joanne.
Okay.
What was your moment where you're like, oh, I need to understand this?
I've had moments within my career, and it's not a happy story in a sense. Is my first real job, so if people can look on LinkedIn and they'll know what I'm talking about. I was very uncomfortable with my boss. My boss was very, very aggressive, and I did not like it that much, and I wanted to leave. So I there was I'll just name the company. So Lockheed Martin had a lot of opportunities that you could move to different groups because it's a huge company. So I decided to go to my boss's boss and ask, that I don't want to work in this group. What opportunities do I have outside of this group to leave? And what happened was I was instead told that I'm at the end of the project. The last 20% of the project is the toughest. You're having a problem because it's so tough, not because of the group. And it took me, like, I took it. I took the feedback, and I finished the project. And then 6 months later, I just left Lockheed because I couldn't do it anymore. But I think about it now, and I wonder why. And it was because my boss was a very, very successful person. Like, he got results. He was a person who got results. He got it done. And they knew that, I guess the backstory that I didn't give you all is that before me, 3 women left. The
Okay.
other girl that was working with me was on the verge of leaving. He made every single woman that worked with him leave. And so that was his black mark on his career.
Okay.
And the office politics there was, it didn't matter so much about the 22-year-old girl that was saying that she wanted to get out. It mattered more about how successful he was perceived within the group.
Got it. Yeah.
And that was something where it didn't matter where I stood, it mattered on what the success was. And really the answer back was understanding the politics is probably should have just trust my gut.
You live and learn.
Yes.
That's a great story for anyone out there listening. And I was at a workplace, I've been like, this is my 12th or 13th company in my career. I was at a place where I had a disagreement with my manager, my direct manager that I was reporting to. But again, I had a good reputation in the company. So I was debating whether to go to my boss's boss because they were really tight knit. I knew that, like they were really good friends. I just wanted different role because I want to kind of like feel like that would be a good pivot for my career. And I was able to, I just like built like my whole story, went there, asked him for other opportunities under his org because I had the reputation in the org. I didn't want it to leave without me. I wanted to leave on my terms, let's put it that way. So that was helpful, like going to my boss, not talking about the current issues, but showing what I can build within the org helped me to find another role. But it was not my first job. By then, I kind of understood.
There's so much from the story that I told you guys, very much like a snippet of it. And I think that's what's important. There's so much, though, of reflection
Yes.
that that I do think about is if I had a mentor, someone to talk with beforehand, they could be like, okay, let's remove the emotion before you go into the meeting. But let's think about this logically. I think that's what's really helpful there. The right steps are tough because the right steps aren't always the right steps, right? Depends on who you're talking to, how well do you know them, what actually speaks to it. Maybe coming in and being extremely vulnerable works. Maybe it doesn't work.
Sometimes it does. You're right.
Yeah.
Extremely vulnerable.
And I mean, and I think that's actually gets to the point of like really wrapping up here is
Yes.
the politics in itself. We don't have all the answers to it because the first step is figuring out what in the world is your company's politics. You know, where did they stand in this world? Like, what is it that makes them going for versus, and not even just a company, like every organization has a different politics within it, and then seeing what works there. And to be fair, sometimes not every battle is worth fighting.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
That is a good point. True. And also moving is a good option too. Like if you feel like it's not going anywhere, your mental peace is important than anything else. So try to find something on your own terms and then move. Definitely helps. Yeah.
But the biggest advice there is that when you do move, how you leave is super important as well.
True.
I'm getting on because I've seen some random videos of people going like, don't give a 2 weeks notice. Oh, please give at least a 2 weeks notice.
Always.
All right, always. Because you never know who from the last company will know something about it. That reputation travels with you outside of your job as well.
Yeah. And also having those professional guidance for yourself, right? Like, this is what I would do, no matter how terrible that other person is. This is how I'm going to be. Going back to being authentic and kind of putting those principles in your playbook and saying, okay, I'll leave, but I'll be professional, give the 2 weeks notice, and then move on, right? Yeah, totally agree with that, Joanne. This is a big topic. Maybe we should like do another episode on it, but
Yeah.
it's is critical for sure. And getting the mentor helps, and also understanding the politics, as you said, like how does it align to your workplace also helps. And hopefully this snippet kind of gives you some true stories that we both have been through.
Yes, because really at the end of the day is we've collected a lot of these hard lessons from spending the time and learning by living in these hard lessons. And but hopefully this has helped you and let you know that you are not naive for not knowing this stuff. You just honestly weren't told. Now you have been told. Politics is everywhere. So if you like this, please subscribe. If you're subscribe or follow on whatever podcast platform you are on. If you're on YouTube, please like this podcast because it does actually help the channel. And until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and stay unplugged.